I'm Michelle Markels with the American Marketing Association. We're here with David Crockett from the University of South Carolina. He has won today an award for multicultural mentoring and excellence. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about what the award means to him and some of his recent research. Can you tell us just what it means to you and how it feels to win this award?
Well, I mean, to me, it's one of the most meaningful awards in the discipline, primarily because of the namesakes on the award. Jerome Williams, Bill Qualls, and Thad Spratlin. Those three gentlemen earned PhDs in economics and marketing. They were among the first African Americans to do so. And so, they blazed a path that the rest of us are following. So they were doing it back when no one else was doing it. And so it just so happens that all three of them have been really helpful and integral to developing my career in a very personal way. And so to win an award with their name on it, I can't tell you how excited and proud I am of it. The multicultural mentoring aspect of it is, part of what we do as faculty is try to mentor young people, both those who are our students, other people who are in the discipline, and in most respects, we just try to help them along. I've been able and been blessed to shepherd three doctoral students through our program and share their dissertations, but also be engaged in PhD education with the PhD project. So I've been involved with that, and they do a lot to help minorities from underrepresented groups earn PhDs and get through their programs. And so I've been engaged for a long time, ever since I was a student, with their programming and with their work. And so, that stuff has always been very meaningful to me, not just about helping other people, but it is also very, very enriching. So it's been great.
Well, congratulations. It's certainly a great honor. Can you talk a little bit about some of your recent research? What are you excited to share with us?
Okay, sure. I do research on kind of broadly construed the sociology of consumption. So a lot of what I look at are issues around social inequality of various types in the marketplace. So social class, race, gender, etc. So very recently, I published a study that is about respectability politics, which is one of these things that has kind of come up in the media quite a bit. That I started working on it, and then it also happened to get famous in a way, which is not often one of those things, those bits of serendipity that we get. So what I was able to do was look specifically at Black respectability politics. Lots of people use respectability politics, but it looks a little bit different. And I talked about kind of historically how it's changed. Back in the 18th and 19th century, it was really about mimicking certain kinds of elite values. And really kind of in the second half of the 20th century, it's begun to shift and change to take sort of advantage of or respond to more contemporary kinds of inequality. And so what my research does is really map out that change and kind of how that takes place in markets, like in terms of what people buy and how they use that stuff to build lifestyle. I'd have to show you the pictures to spell it all out, but that's basically what I'm looking at.
Okay, so when you say that it's got a little media attention lately, can you give us an example of where you've seen it?
So I think in a number of areas we've seen people talk about the importance of respectability politics. So one example is sort of in contemporary politics in the United States so in 2008, when Barack Obama was elected president, there was a lot of discussion about him as an individual and kind of how he carried himself and how he and his family comported themselves in ways that were not at all consistent with prevalent racial stereotypes. Respectability politics is about how important you think that is to how they get treated. Right. And so for many people, what they took from that is, he was still in many quarters not very well respected at all, right, by certain kinds of people. And so for some people, that meant that, hey, respectability politics don't work. For other people, they felt like, no, this is the way that you achieve integration, that you achieve high status, those sorts of things. So that kind of political tension has always been a part of American politics generally, and Black politics as well. And so my study really talks about how it's really more like a how to, like how that works as a strategy that people use to lower levels of stigma that they happen to have to respond to. And so I look at how they use stuff to do that. So I have people in my study, and they use things like art to lower the levels of stigma that people attribute to them. Those sorts of things.
Okay, so this is more almost like marketing an individual rather than, say, like a product or a service.
Well, it really is on the consumer side. So this is kind of like what happens after you've already made the decision to buy. Then it's kind of like, how do I use this stuff and what does it mean? And so two people might have the same thing. They might buy the same car, but that car is doing very, very different things for them in their lifestyle. And for some people, when they buy that car, that house, what have you, it is part of, kind of how they respond to racism in everyday life. And so what I kind of talk about is, are 2 or 3 different ways in which they do that.
Great. Well, thanks so much for explaining your research. Really fascinating stuff. Again, I'm Michelle Markels with the American Marketing Association, and we've had the privilege of speaking with David Crockett.